everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 4/28/25. We're here with Brian Tseng again today, and we're here with Robert Kalil of The Typical Skeptic. So this is going to be a great show today, folks. It's going to end up more of like a discussion Q&A kind of hybrid today. So before any of that, I must say I open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, to come in and to support this conversation, to participate in this conversation, and to rally around so that we may have this conversation in peace and with understanding. We ask for malevolent or mischievous beings now to be swept away so that this conversation can be had in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
Okay, this is actually going to be a very interesting episode. Not only are we promoting both the movements of both of these gentlemen today, fulldisclosuremovement.org and Typical Skeptic. There was a show off recording here or a topic for the show off recording that we were discussing, which I find very, very prevalent, that has happened to us in the past few days, in fact. And over the years, we've done shows on the subject, the bad effects of good intentions. What that signifies is if someone has a very powerful psionic field, a very potent psychic field, I should say, and they are, say, thinking about a particular person, or if they are thinking about a particular place, particular time, particular memory, they may activate a portal that then opens up to that time frame, bringing things to the here and now, and you don't need to mirror that, past lives included in this argument. Then you have people that are aiming at other people. Maybe a question needs to be answered, maybe there's an emergency, maybe there's something horrible that happened to that person, they're just asking for help, something like this, and it will send this bombardment or barrage to the other end of that tether. And it opens a portal probably no bigger than the size of a golf ball. And even smaller. I've seen the size of a pea, actually, will do it. It makes it very difficult to locate on someone's property. It could be that big. I've run into this the past few days where somebody we know that's very kind has a very large set of psionic abilities. Very, very, very good at it, actually. But it's untapped, or I shouldn't say untapped, but it's unmanaged. And portals open up, and beings that are on the other end that would be, say, harassing that person end up on the other end of the tether. And even as much of security as I have around here, they would be focused either on myself or in the office here. And that ends up presenting a problem. So therefore, the people have to be taught how to manage this particular ability. Kind of like almost like the X-Men school, in the X-Men movies, or or things of that nature. There has to be some kind of instructional place for this.
And so it's interesting because, again, people are so used to hearing the story that someone is born into this ability, that they come in. But again, for myself, although there was a little bit of it and the potential was there, I would say that mine just kind of opened up on its own naturally a little bit later. And that is beginning to happen to a lot of people. But when we talk about, again, what does it happen? Like if you're hyper focusing on somebody and you have this skill, read my text, read my text, read my text, read my text, answer me, answer me, answer me. And again, it could be a friend, it could be somebody. Literally, this is what the other person will start to get. The pressure on this part of their head, because you're what we call pinging the amygdala. We are basically the pressure and the pain that can start on this side of a person's head if they as well can feel things, is almost unbearable. What it has led to in people's relationships is people to unfriend each other. People can't stand to talk to one another. People get blocked. People have problems. The reason why, as I was saying to Brian a minute ago, the reason why I feel this is such an important topic is because, again, there is no owner's manual that you get. It's going to be through conversations and through things like this that we try to spread this information to help people, number one. And if you're desperately trying to put together a unity, right, this type of energy with people who are excited and want to become a part of it, but they don't have the mechanisms to understand what they're doing, it can actually destroy a community. So the reasons why, we would like to spend some time on this, and be it right now in this conversation, and of course in later conversations, is the fact that we want so badly to see the full disclosure movement, the community develop and everything, but there truly are a lot of people that do not yet understand these concepts. And so we almost have to teach people again how to behave. It's almost like, how do I learn to be quiet? How do I learn, right, not to let the streaming force come through me? How do I do these things? Because what I want is, what everybody wants is more community, but we have to have, let's just say, the proper classroom manners, right, of how we deal with one another. But people don't
Actually, Joanna,
happening.
I'd love to speak to that, because this idea of unity, and then it just really lends very well to this topic of spiritual hygiene and how to get a handle of your abilities and activate them properly so that it's for yours and everyone's highest greatest good, and it's not leading to getting hijacked and sidetracked. And first, it's not just unity for unity's sake. I mean, I literally had someone messaging me at 2:30 in the morning about why I had to unify with this other person who backstabbed us in the community last year, and because wouldn't it just be so great if we were unified? And I have to explain, first, it's spiritual warfare. At the point where spiritually someone is a narcissist and they're attacking all of us and they're lying about us after they withdrew from the conference and told the rest of the team to F off, and we decided to keep the show going, and then now we became the bad guys. The only time we're going to have unity is if this person apologizes, is public about it, maybe has us on his platforms, and recognizes us, and also drops some of the negative people that they're working with who, yeah, they're real. They were really in the programs, but in the here and now, they're using the remote viewing and astral projection abilities to astrally peeping Tom and assault people sexually. Okay. Then you've got, my family friend who had that spontaneous Kundalini awakening. Not only did she end up in a psych unit, but on her way in, she had kind of these agents on the other side who apparently do hone in on people who are now activated. And our friend Ida Farhat, when she was Kundalini activated, they began tracking her much more strenuously than they already had. And then to the point where she woke up one time in her apartment and she's surrounded by the Men in Black types or Greys, I forget which, and they basically deactivated her Kundalini activation. They nerfed her because they didn't want her running around fully activated like that. And that was a number of years ago.
Oh yeah, I personally have run into that where people get fuzzed, where people have military show up after they've had this activation. They've had military show up, and these people try to, I use the term lightly, try to use chemicals to dumb them back down again. They try to use psionics to dumb them back down. I've caught them numerous times try to come after us too. So both Men in Black and military spec ops alike. I've run into multiple factions of them as well. And every time they try, I say, you guys are a special kind of stupid. It's impossible. You can't do that.
It gets better with David Purcell. Because they'll see that he's in dream state, or he's going to travel around in the astral, and he's being messed with, and then he's repelling his psychic attackers so powerfully that other people spiritually, magically, they pick up on him, and then they'll approach him in his dreams or in the astral, and they'll say, "Hey, we want you to work with us." And he's like, "Who are you?" And and some of these groups are not, they're like negative witch coven types who are seeking his power.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And that's happened here too. Okay. And so again, you always have to try and discern what you think the reasoning is behind that. I would love to say it's free and clear of all this, but people will be used and abused all the time. Especially if they do not understand what they're doing. And they, again, have to understand a bottom line premise that we are not free and clear of people that are disinfo agents, misinfo agents. I think, again, when you look at somebody, if you feel they're a true, let's call it an activist. An activist personality is one that gets hyper, that gets excited, that is, it's almost my way or the highway kind of thing. That is not good because that's usually a different type of protocol that's been set in place, let's just say. And so it is very difficult to work in these communities if you feel activists, true activists are present. Their mission, let's just say, whether they realize it or not, is not going to be one that necessarily can get along, maybe get along for a little bit, but then not get along because of what their mission really is. And so you also have people that are not stable, and we've talked about this before. They cannot get
Someone got arrested. Can we use the example? I'm going to say his name on the air because it's a matter of public record,
okay.
and because this person has been terrorizing everyone in our disclosure community for several years now, multiple years. His name is Jesse Balk of Watertown.
I know that dude.
Right.
I read
Yes.
the same. Yeah.
Exactly. And he's the one who, and Penny Bradley herself says this, Jesse Balk threatened to come find her, track her down, and slit her throat. She's
Oh
like
my
an
God.
elderly woman. Right. He apparently, after like threatening all of us for years, and my analysis is that he is real. He has had dreams of like being in space battles with reptilians and all that. And then, but he's got the programming where he goes back and forth and he says, well, the MK Ultra stuff down here on Earth is real. Okay. And the assassins training and assassinating people stuff. Okay. That's real. But all that space stuff, everyone, including himself, we are all put under AI virtual reality simulators. And so these were all simulations, and we're just live action role playing right now off of computer simulations that they use
I've
to
heard
brain.
that. Yeah, I've heard of that.
That's where he's coming from.
Mhm.
And I've heard a couple other people, and I understand people who view them energetically for attachments. They see the same type of like negative black AI tentacle machinery coming off of them in the astral. And basically he was in the programs, he is real, but some people are really fried out, and they're so fried out in the here and now that the other side uses them as useful idiots and flying monkeys and Manchurian candidates to hurl at us, especially when we're making more and more of an impact. This is consistent with Project Oblivion, uncovered by Olivia James and Misha Johnson, myself, and other people. That's the project that the handlers have invented to basically retaliate against all of us in the movement to hamper us since we're being too effective too soon.
Exactly.
Yes, people again may have realized that this is going on, but this is not new. This is, as we've said, we call it hitting trigger points in your growth that there are basically timed within you. If you hit a certain trigger point, that something then comes in to smack you back down. We've talked about that a little bit before. I think a lot of times, people are discovering it, thinking somehow it's new, but it's been going on for generations. And, it's just that people are starting to see this, but it is prevalent. So it is a good understanding for everybody to know that these things really are happening. Unfortunately, again, I've said this to you before, we've spoken about like in the SSP and things, that I would love to say that when people were sent back, that they were sent back unprogrammed. Not true. Most people were set with what we call the triggers of things that were happening. Some people that they really feel are susceptible still, they will make disruptors. They will make them, like I said, either an activist in this subject or another subject. And again, that's why it's hard for us to want to get angry at people, because we know what's done to them to cause these things. There is a subset of people that completely agree to the role that they are going to play.
Exactly.
There are a subset. I'm going to acknowledge that. But
So
not
there's-
all.
there's-
Can I tell
I
you
know-
guys what happened to me? Like, honestly,
Oh, yeah.
I'll just tell you, like, so I'm a prime example of being targeted by, I don't know, I guess it's someone in the community. I think that's what I think. Because, like, I think what was done to me was black magic, from my YouTube being taken down to then. What happened was, when it first started, was like, it felt like there was a creature on my head, but I couldn't see it. It felt like an astral parasite. It would always nip at my neck. It would nip at my head. I felt claws going around my head. It was insane. And I had to fight it off, and I had to learn how to fight it off. But I started realizing, I was like, this was definitely sent by someone in the community, or it could be government targeting. They could use entities as well. But I mean, I have a feeling we're going back to what you guys said at the beginning of the conversation. I think we're in the wild west of psionic abilities, because a lot of people are waking up to the fact that they have abilities, and a lot of people are using black magic and a lot of bullshit to, like, harm people. But in my case, I think it did good, because it woke me up to the fact that I had to learn how to, like, wake my own abilities up to, like, fight it. I had other people help me for sure. But, like, you guys helped me too, Chris and Joanna, and like everybody kind of helped me, but I mean, I did a lot myself too, I had to, but I still have it, I can feel it in my back still, like, but it's like, it's going away. It's, but like, it definitely was sent, like, like it was too weird. It was like an astral creature. You know what I mean? It's not something that was like a ghost or something that you would experience here in the three. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
It's like, yeah, I've seen a number of different variations on a theme. There are these jellyfish-looking ones, octopi-looking ones. Some are machine spiderish, kind of like in the Matrix, that kind of deal, and that kind of deal. And then there are other ones that are more like shrimp-looking ones. And then there's these millipede, centipede, beetle-looking variations, and then
Squid ones? Did you have squid ones?
yeah, and they get into your core and they wrap around you, and they'll wrap around through your head and through your neck. And some have pincers on it, like how squid have like those beak like things on them. Then you have also millipedes and centipedes and stuff that and also earwig type things that have these pincers and everything. I've seen multiple variations. Think the Matrix, when Neo walks into the machine city and he sees all these little things walking around. Think that, and think of like also the machine arms from all the bad guys they have to fight through it. It's like that. Some are organic, some are machine, and some are in between, and some are just animals too that exist in different layers. Like if you get a mosquito that bites you, or a spider that bites you, or a bee stings you, it's the same identical thing within another layer. Some people caught a while back on camera, some paranormal investigators quite a while ago caught these little rods that fly through these little colored rods, energetic rods. Those are animals that exist in a different frequency. There's these insects that exist in another frequency. And that's that. Some people think it's all astral parasites. Sometimes it's an animal. In Arizona, I encountered an actual spider group there. Not an ET or anything. They were animals, but they were larger and existed in the deep deserts. And they were just in another frequency. And I found out they were a throwback from like the Cretaceous period or something like that. So it was from millions of years ago. So yeah, there are these variations and variants, and some of them have natural abilities to jam people's psionic abilities too. And the bad guys will harness this, like put a leash or a harness on them and say, go for it, go for that guy or that woman. And they'll do it. If they can't completely get you with their psychic abilities, they'll find a jammer of some sort, like an animal or an attachment or something like that. They're cowards. They fling stuff from far away. And all variations and manners of bad guys I've seen do similar tactics like that.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. So do you think it was sent then, Chris?
Yeah, most definitely, because it's what you say, what you do. It kind of comes with the territory.
So again, when we talk about the spiritual hygiene and with what you do, when you bring on so many people, this is kind of what we're talking about, to stop you, we call it the Trojan horse. Something could be coming through somebody else to get to you. And so
Yeah.
you happen to be a person who speaks to so many different people. So one of the things like you saw us do an opening and, set the intention, set the rules, set the expectation, ask for the help for these malevolent and mischievous beings not to be able to come through. So some of that, I think we would recommend to you. You can do it how you want, but the concept is own the space, Robert. Own it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
that's
say,
my point.
you can come on and talk to me, and this is how this stuff is going to run. And so, just like we're going to do an opening for the full disclosure, because we want to own the space and have expectations. So it could come through to you again, not even being from a person who's knowingly doing anything, but they're literally being used as a Trojan horse to get to you, let's say. These things happen. Again, I go back to saying that for maybe, at least half the people, they are truly innocent, bystanders who are basically being used. As we were just saying before you spoke, I will easily acknowledge that there is a subset of people that are within this community that are there to cause havoc, chaos, and disrupt its growth. Absolutely.
But Joanna, that prompted me to think about there's a next subset. That's more, I think, the majority of us, I would say.
Mhm.
Isn't the people who up there and down here are intentional agents? And I know who some of them are without naming names, we know. But then there's all the people who, like, I believe the Jesse Balks, Eugene Sonny Irvins, and Jesse was just arrested for threatening the local police department because unlike threatening us online and threatening to slit our throats, the police department locally don't take too kind to that when you post
No.
about that on Facebook, and they'll come get you. And they did for him.
Wow.
And then he's definitely looks a lot humbled.
Did he have a breakdown, I guess, or something? Or like what?
Well, that's the thing is if you haven't done your shadow work, if you don't deal with your ego, if you're susceptible to voices in your skull saying that you're the number one most important white hat agent, and if anyone doesn't play ball with you, then they're an agent of the enemy, and now you have to take them out and blah, blah, blah. You're susceptible to that if you haven't done your shadow work. If you haven't dealt with your own ego to say, well, wait a second, I'm not the most important agent or person in the whole wide world, and I don't need to attack these people. Like, why? The more that you're spiritually strong foundationally, the harder it is for the other side to attack you, and then that's where they usually then
Parts of truth. So the one true thing that he said is that virtual reality is used in training. Absolutely. But there's also another part that is real too, that he's saying, no, it's only this. So
Just because that's the only thing you experienced, yeah.
right, and it could be, or he could be programmed heavily, because again, we have to acknowledge that in like people that are having memories back from the SSP or whatever, some of them are not real memories. They are implanted false memories. This is very difficult. This whole thing is very difficult, that whole conversation. So, we don't want to put people down.
Yeah, it's one thing to say it's one thing to say some of your memories may be implanted in AI, but to say that they're all implanted, they're all AI, and
No.
never mind all these multiple people across the community who have remember each other in the various programs doing various things in different places, and the remote viewers and the psychics and the guides who confirm all of this, and then Peter with the ACIO files, Peter the Insider.
Right.
To say it's all a hallucination essentially.
Right.
Is, I can't ever buy that.
No.
But again, and I look at, like I was saying before, he's probably a good example of a person having that activist type of personality that, I'm going to stand and shout this to the rooftop and everyone's going to hear me and they're going to, and I'm the one. When you get into that kind of personality type, you really have to say, wait a minute, because, that's a, believe me or else type of personality that is there usually intentionally to disrupt. And so it's being able to, again, I wish you well in your journey. Don't know whether you agree to this or not, but I wish you well, but we can't play in the same sandbox. And, you know, that there has to be recognition that at times that things like that must be done in order to more firm the foundations. And then, as we're saying, even about yourself and your share, Robert, and what we're talking about, we have to actually have talks about the community, how we interact with one another, those with psionics, how do you control these things? Because we do want this understanding and if you can understand what's going on, if you can develop it properly, then you're so much stronger with your own personal intention of what you want to see happen. So, but it's all very, very, very real. But again, with no owner's manual on what to do, it's very difficult. But as we were saying before, like I said, I'm trying to give people an understanding of what does it feel like when you are being so heavily focused on, right? It really will physically hurt. It's really going to make you not, you're concentrating more on that feeling and wanting it to go away, like a bad headache starting, but it's a big pressure that comes with it as well. And then how do you make it stop? Unfortunately, sometimes you've got to go to where the source of it is coming from, help them understand to stop doing it. And so it's going to be an up and coming issue, Brian, for everyone to understand. It's an interesting thing because I can see how people say, well, that's not disclosure. And I'm like, it's actually some of the most important disclosure
Yes,
you
it
need
is.
to
It
hear.
really is.
I mean, in the
Joanna,
lead
I was
up to
gonna
last
say-
year's conference, how many people are getting attacked, and then after, and then since, and then now in the lead up to this coming conference, those attacks come with having your abilities activated. Now, those open abilities are now open channels for the other side to attack you. If your
Exactly.
telepathy isn't that active, then they can't hit you as hard with telepathy necessarily. But if you're a full-on telepathic empath who can channel, then it's like they're going to have more access to you because it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, you can access the world more in that way, but then they can use that as a channel to hit you.
Mhm.
I was going to say,
Exactly.
Joanna, what do you think about like can we strengthen our auric field? Because I think that's what would happen to me. I think I had holes in my auric field, and I think that's how someone was able to get to me. But like, if we strengthen our auric field, would that help?
Yes, and so
Yeah.
again, part of that is again that imagination center. And so again, that imagination center where you see yourself, you like if I said to you right now, Robert, use your imagination and tell me how far out is your base energy from your body?
I
How
would
far
say
out
about
is it?
5 feet. I think
So
You should have it in a lot closer than
well, the
that.
one thing
Yeah.
that we say, can you imagine yourself bringing that energy in? Can you literally imagine seeing that energy out like that and you bringing it in?
yeah.
Okay, so get it at about, a foot from your body, no more than that, okay?
Okay.
So the reason we say that, you have to learn to be able to imagine and truly be able to feel the energy and bringing things back in. If you don't want unwanted attention, if your skills are going, you have to learn then to cloak it because you don't necessarily want it to be blaring out there for people to be able to attach to, or I say the lint brush of things floating around to be able to attack it.
And what ends up happening is I've gotten calls from people where they say, "Oh, I put my aura out 20 miles. Why would you do that?" It's like, and they're like, "Something's wrong." And I wanted to say, "No shit," but I did. But I did. But this is a dumb moment, for those people. But I'm saying, in under regular circumstance where you're starting to activate those abilities, what you do is you have to keep that aura very close to you. And I envision a suit of armor forming around me, kind of like a knight or something like that. Monks do this one technique, especially Tibetan monks. What they do is when they run mantras into their subconscious, like they do Om or anything like that to keep their brain active, what you do is you program your subconscious to say, okay, when there's danger around, automatically pop up that suit. And they brought up an example of this, and I can't believe I'm using the example of this as a disclosure in the media example. The whole Power Rangers thing with the armor. And this actually came up in the newer movie, whereas it was based on like the need or the or moment kind of thing. It wasn't based on you're using logic to try to build this thing around. It just showed up when it was needed. and it was the energetics. And that's what I say in the energetics around you in the auric field. Turn that into your armor or suit or protective suit, and you'll notice that the attacks, if they do hit, will have to hit that thing. And once they hit it, you can either put more of a dead man switch in there so it reflects back to them with equal or superior strength, or you can actually, when they hit it, they just get zapped like a bug zapper. So it's just like you do something like that. They hit that enough times and you're able to match toe to toe and actually have the stronger torsion field to them, they will pick an easier target at that point, or try to.
So if I said right now to you, Robert, looking at your energy field, and you're scanning it, if I have in my mind, that there is an area that it's not quite all put together, strongly under your right shoulder blade. So, do you see that? Do you sense that?
Yeah, it's actually it's right around my left shoulder blade. That's where the entity sometimes hangs out.
Yeah, because you're seeing it on your right. So that's how you get,
So what I'm trying to say is that
you hit
can you sense
because it's
that?
the way the camera is. Yeah.
Can you sense that?
Yeah.
Okay, and you feel that that's not quite as strong as it should be, right?
Yeah.
Take source energy and knit it back in. See it filling back in. See it becoming stronger. Put another layer. Put another layer. So what we have to try to help people understand is you do have the abilities to strengthen things. Now, not everybody has learned how to pull off different attachments and stuff of themselves. But if you constantly do this and then look at your feet, is underneath your feet as strongly layered as other parts of your body, and is over your head strongly, layered as other parts of your body. So you need to be looking in that sense about that. This is what I try to tell people. Don't doubt yourself. If you are doing this and your imagination is making you say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit like less over here, fill it in. Don't question yourself. That's the biggest thing where people have a problem is they say, well, maybe it's not real.
If your intuition is telling you something's off on one side, that usually means that's the weak spot that keeps getting probed all the time, keeps getting attacked all the time.
Yeah, and that's what's weird. It's like the entity, like I can't get it off my back. It's still there, Like I beat it in other places. I had it. It was like I was infested with entities. I had one in my throat. I had one in my liver. They were going in and out of my ears. I swear to God, it was very strange. Like that's why when you guys said at the beginning about the psych ward, I was like, holy shit! Like I was real close. I mean, well, I don't think I would have went. I mean, I have so many friends in the community that like just like you guys and stuff that I could talk to that like I would get it ironed out eventually. But I mean, it's like you said, Joanna. Like once an attack hits you, it's like it's hard not to focus on other stuff. Even when I'm doing podcasts, like it's on my mind because I can feel a weight on my head or on the back of my neck or around my ear or on my back, and it's like it's annoying. It's not anything that scares me. You know what I mean? It's just like at 3 a.m. when I'm trying to sleep and the entity's making bumps off my bed. It'll like make pumps come off the pillow or off the bed, and I just get pissed. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't know. So
well that and from a spiritual hygiene perspective, you don't want to be going to sleep and just having an entity in your immediate bedroom messing with you.
I got to get rid of it. It's
right, and that's real important. What I need everyone to know is we face the same problems. So I think what people want to believe now, what I call the mythos, is that, I'm going to do A, B, C, and then it will never happen to me again. No, what is going to happen is that you're going to be stronger when dealing with it, and you'll be able to handle it quicker and better. But this is a part of reality. It is grounded in to where we live with entities and, psychic stuff or whatever. So everybody, for Chris, it gets, I feel bad for him because everybody wants the fix. it's not going to be the fix.
And also, if something will also continuously come back, if your oversoul is basically saying, no, this is how this version of myself in this particular timeline plays this out in order to bring about the desired result. That's
So
basically,
I remember when you guys were on my podcast and we kind of talked about this. It's like each person needs to individually, like, spiritually strengthen themselves so this stuff doesn't happen to them over and over again, right? Like, isn't
Deal with it better. I just
Yeah.
am saying, instead of saying that, you're going to get to this energetic point of being at a place, where you're in that energetic level when you're back connected to your higher self. They don't
Yeah.
get this, but the
Yeah.
avatars do. And it's a part of the reality and what's going on. We are in, I call it the baby phase. We're learning that it's real, right? And we're starting to learn the different aspects of how we deal with it. And what do we do? And can we do anything? And maybe when do I need help by somebody else? That's where we are. We're not at the level of perfecting something yet. So, that's what people have to understand. But I get it. Who's not tired? Right? Who wants to be the one sticking their head above to be smashed back down, right? I get all of the conversation. But I have to say that we actually, a lot of us, knew what we were getting into when we came in this life.
Do
And
you think we signed up for this, Joanna? Like,
I hate to say it,
but
right? But, can you see yourself doing anything else no matter what?
no, honestly, I feel like, podcasting is like my calling. I feel like I'm meant to do it, but I mean, I didn't think, like, if you would have told me this 5 years ago when I started, like, I mean, I knew about Max Spears, but I didn't know a lot about the SSP. I didn't start learning a lot about the SSP till like 2022. And then, maybe 2021, but I knew about it before, but like, that's when I started interviewing people more, and I didn't think that any of this would come with the territory. And like, it's like, we're in a whole different world right now. When I first started getting attacked, like, it was like coming to a realization. I was like, holy shit, this stuff is very real. And it's like, it's in my face now. So, you know what I mean? It was wild,
No,
It
it's
really
very
was.
much surreal. And one other thing, because I know Chris is going to want to start channeling here in a minute, is I want to bring up again that there is a lot of things going on. We speak about it, but I'm going to try to really paint a picture now for people to understand. And that is the constant now bombardment of what we call the voice to skull kind of things being streamed into people's minds. I literally mean this, that scenarios and the streaming. So this happens all the time. If you're a type of person like me, I close my eyes, I get to see a video show. I get to see a show. Now, what it is for most of the time is if I'm, just relaxing and I pay attention to it, it's the current V2K streaming out in the area, whatever that subject matter is, whatever they're trying to cause, whatever they want you to believe. A lot of it has to do with somehow either an anger, a fear, something that they can control better, right? Pumping it. And literally, if you have the ability to see, right, when that happening, you're watching a movie show go on, okay? You're watching the streaming. I call it really is streaming, right? Some people have the receptivity to see it. It is hard to know when that's happening to you, which I'm going to tell you, hasn't let up. You're not getting a break from it. You're going to go to bed that way. You're going to wake up that way right now because that is the streaming that's coming down upon people versus when you are legitimately seeing something on your own. And it can be very difficult to know the two. You have to
Yeah.
really get in touch with your feelings because one is quite hollow, although it's effective to make you be in fear. One, there is more emotion and more substance to it. There is a difference between the two. But it's really important to know that this is happening. This really is going on. It is happening to everyone, whether you can feel it, whether you can see it or not. And it does, those waves do go into the brain and they do affect people. Thus, we have in our country right now all of what we would say is an increase in fear and violence, right? And people snapping. all of this is that energy, whether you can see it or not, and it is affecting everyone. So it is important for people to become become aware of that, right? As well as, you know, again, the effects of certain medical things that were done to people, making people more susceptible to it.
Damn nano jabs and their shenanigans.
Right?
Yes. And
And so, but I am literal when when I'm trying to explain to people that if you have the receptivity, you could literally just close your eyes and watch the show. And that's how I think about it now. I used to get really irritated about it until I had to accept the fact that it's just here. And whether I want it to be here or not, it is. And so you then have to learn the skill of, I'm not watching this anymore. How do you turn off the TV, right? And you can, with skill, choose, I'm not watching this anymore. I know it's a bunch of BS. Have fun, guys, whatever, see you later. I'm turning it off so that I can rest. I will not pay attention to it. I jokingly say that it becomes that Charlie Brown teacher in the background, but you're not paying attention to it anymore. And that's where people also have to go with all of this so that they can center within themselves. And then they're going to start again. What are my personal intentions and how do I want my energies to go out from what I want, not being affected by all of the stuff that is very real, that is obviously affecting a lot of people in this world right now.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then doing parasite and metal cleanses can also help facilitate some of this, because with the parasites, there's a spiritual aspect to them that maybe lower energies seem to exploit.
Oh, absolutely. I've actually had a couple real tapeworms before, and apparently didn't get a clue I wasn't supposed to go to that particular buffet anymore. But because it happened twice in a row, I went, a clue, Sherlock, tapeworm. But in this,
Check out the big brains on Brad.
yeah, exactly. Where could I have gotten this? Oh, yes, but what happened was I downed a bunch of baking soda at the time, and that's what took care of it when I alkalized. That took care of it. But there was a spiritual aspect where it was drawing in all of the etheric tapeworms and all the parasitical entities and stuff. We're trying to get to that because it was a lower vibration. They just kind of slid right into. See, so that's actually very important. If you have something wrong with self, both spiritually and physically, you're going to draw in a bunch of crap you don't want. And if you don't deal with the dark night of the soul or the shadow work, same difference. It's basically two halves of the same coin at that point. Okay, I think we're at the point where then we could do the channel. So give me just a moment here. Okay. I would be willing to bet that's Isaac this time. Let me think. Okay, let's see. Yes, okay. Yes, who would have thought that it was me talking again on this program? I've only done it about a bajillion times. So, I may be there at the conference, you never know. I may talk to people there too. Some people have spotted me at conferences before, both in physical and also in telepathic form. I was there last time too, but nobody saw me. To take a trip out to Vegas sometime, you might see people I talk to out there. But in this instance, what you are talking about is 100% true. There are people geared out there not only to do harm, but to go after people that are not doing any harm and turn them into a harmful bot, as it were. Turning them either through the jab, either through psionics, through chemical intrusions, any of these things, into a self-replicating psionic bot and or recorder. They will project outward and attempt to spread the ill psionics like a virus. So, unbeknownst to them. And as he was feeling with the people in question before, in the back of his head, he was feeling this hit. He was feeling this hit through his skull, and this started to radiate like gonging a bell, or radiating a bell, or hitting a gong like a Chinese gong. It sent that forward. he wanted it to stop because of the viral nature of this. Nanobots, all you have to do, if you run across, say, a nanovirus, if you are in a particular frequency, you can command it with your psionic ability through voice, kind of like the Thum in Skyrim, where you go, you tell it to without sounding like I vomited. In this, where you can basically instruct it with frequency, you say nanobots or nanoprobes shut down now, and 3 times, and they will fall to the floor. And that's smart dust. If it's within you, you'll just end up taking a gigantic dump later. But, and I mean this in the energetic sense and the physical sense, because energetics process through the body and they become almost like ghost poo. So, I'm only being gross because in current laughing company, I can do this. And I may do this at the conference where there might be people that are trying to be more serious and I'm not. But, or will I? That's the question. In this, in a serious note, though, Rob, the entity in question is definitely something you don't want on your pillow with you. Some people have these on their pillow with them. They are really great at transforming into things you think they are, from bats to beetles to bugs to insects to dust to feelings to all these things. That's in this instance, it's a form of a succubus. So with this, that is not something you want in your bed, because they will follow you around like a parasite. Essentially, is what they are. These things eventually create almost like a symbiosis with the person they're with, but the difference is they're not very bright, and they don't always check to see who they go after. Somebody with superior psionics can wallop them a few times, and they will still try to keep coming. The object of the exercise is do not give them what they want. In this instance, just visually reach out and touch them, either toss them away, visualize them going through a portal, into a fire, into a volcano, something, into a star, burning up, etc., etc. These things hate sunlight. These things hate people that have a large psionics, but yet they're drawn to them like a moth to a flame. It's unexplainable how stupid these entities are. So, then some of them are strong, some of them are not. You happen to have a moderate in between one. It's not always attached to you, it just wants you to think this, and it throws attachments, like little bug-like creepy things that scratch and bite and sting. They pull these things out of their butt, and you think I'm joking. It's essentially, it's off of their neck, actually, but I'm basically saying their head is their butt. But I'm just saying the dimensional space they come from is, how can I describe this? It's essentially, if you were to walk into, say, your bedroom or into a closet space or something, there's always a space in your house, in the room that you happen to be staying in. There's always a space in the walls beside where the pipes and where all that exists, and the air ventilation ducts. That's where these creatures exist dimensionally. They are not exactly in a habitable one. They ghost in and yo-yo in from an uninhabitable one only by them. So the object is they can go boing in and out and they're gone. And so they can shift and change forms in that way. They can come and go in that particular way. Always search for, remember, Robert, always search for the portals that they come and go in. They like going in and out of closets. They like going in and out of weird little crawl spaces, and not necessarily vents all the time. It's more stuff that's man-sized or woman-sized, and they could shoot in and out of that. Wraiths are more cracks. These guys are more doors. So check for portals, and the way you close these is by visualizing the opposite spin of the direction it's going. Vertices or vortexes as well fall under this category. You have to just visualize the spin going the opposite way, and it collapses. Once you close the portal, you will end the connection with this particular demonic entity. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing information.
Can I ask? I'd like to ask about a demonic entity that recently we had a friend of my wife's and I was visiting here from Reno, and she stayed with us for 2 nights. And apparently, when she left a very large shadow man type being, like 6'4", and he really was interested in my wife. Like when our family friend left, he stayed, this being. And then when my wife was sleeping in the one bedroom at night, I was over here in the office with baby. I was on night shift, trying to get her some sleep, and she had some of our dogs around, and she was like holding on to the one dog, Bear, because she said even without opening her eyes or turning around to look behind her, she could tell there was like a giant figure, like a black dark shadow type figure standing there looming over her and the dogs, and they were all protecting each other, and it was very malevolent and wants Liz. And then later on, I believe we were able to chase it out of the house because Jaden is very gifted in energetic work. But if you could weigh in on that, Isaac, if you're able to determine like what that was, what did it want? Is that a demon? Is that a jinn? What was that?
Yeah, damn Frankenstein men from Lanulos, I tell you. No, I'm joking. I'm just poking at Indrid Cole. But this, because, big forehead, get it, should have bolts inside of his head. No, but kidding. Am I, though? But in this was nothing from Lanulos, trust me. I am there currently yo-yoing into this particular space, and no, not from there. This particular being was, how can I put this? If you could see him, he would look kind of like a Frankenstein-ish figure with pale, silvery-looking skin. This is why I made fun of Indrid Cold. That's what he usually looks like he's drank too much colloidal silver. But in this was more of a robotic version of kind of like what you would see on Lanulos as some of the worker types that's there. We did not build this. This was somebody else that built this, and they built it to be kind of stupid. In this. So this particular thing is a lurker. They're called a lurker. Not unlike the lurker class that's in your Elder Scrolls series that looks like an aquatic lizard, or as he called them, aquatics. In this, I gave him the idea, by the way. And Richie, I'm giving you credit too out there for this. This particular entity being was basically, this lurker was put together and created to cause havoc. Their programmers wanted to cause the most havoc in a household possible. You could akin them to a jinn, just like on Lanulos, you have searchers, and you have both human and android types, or human-esque and android types, excuse me. You have lurkers out there that people will build from a set of specs, like they do the Zeta Greys. They're hired out to multiple races. Lurkers are also hired out to multiple races, and these guys are just plain creepy. They have no beating heart in their chest. They're all mechanical. They're similar to Data on Star Trek, and they tend to just be creepers in the corner. And what do they actually do once they're there? They will follow you around gathering data and return that information to their creators or activators. Lurkers, like I said, they tend to look like Frankenstein. They don't have bolts. They might as well have them. But they have a set of circuitry through their neck and through their eyes. They collect data and leave. If attacked, they will run. So even though they're big and bulky, they tend to be cowards if they're noticed. They don't really talk to people. They're just information gatherers. And they're all around creepy. So he's run into a couple and not understood what it was. But they are mechanical, they're android in nature, and they have very simple programming. If they're noticed, leave. So this is essentially what that was. The dogs were afraid of him because they also, not only was his energy very dense, his intelligence was kind of dense too, and so was his benefactor. Just saying. People like that tend to be as dumb as a box of rocks. That's defaming rocks. So
is that if I may, as a benefactor, like a male? Because it seems like that android being is more focused on the females.
Yes,
and then
the benefactor is male. What some of these business people, I'll use this lightly, do when they want one of these. Say if you had a catalog and you were selecting from a type of whatever you want to buy, or you get on Amazon and you buy something. or on eBay or Etsy, you buy something and you want it to look a certain way. Sometimes you want a custom job done or getting a car paint job done. What do you want? What design do you want? What maybe dedication to somebody who passed away, whatever. This is the same thing. Some people just want the vanilla version. Let's just say, like in a video game, you want the vanilla version or the ones with mods. This is the same thing, where you might have certain attributes you want more of, certain specs you want more of, like you see in the video games you keep. You put one set of specs in one thing and deplete another, or increase another and deplete another. It's the same thing. Different strokes for different folks, but the benefactors usually are in some other either star system or in some other part of the galaxy somewhere, or even close by, right outside. I don't know, maybe your solar system, and they used a big super gate to come into outside the solar system. Somebody like that, maybe sitting in a ship that's maybe about the size of a Buick, something like that. I was actually looking as we were speaking, and then now he's leaving. Okay. I just want to make sure when they're seen, they leave too. But these are information gatherers that can get around the treaties out there by acting as if they are like shadow people. They've even disguised themselves as forest people before. And going after your wife, they are actually interested in certain types of genetic material, usually Nordic in variety, Viking, Norse, Nordic, Scandinavian genome sequence. They usually, though that particular benefactor wanted that particular genomic sequence, the dogs were afraid because they didn't know how to interact or what to do with this particular being. And I use this lightly. Yes, they are sentient AI, but they are barely sentient. They're regarded as a sentience. If you get them away from their benefactor, you can actually teach them to be of a higher sentience. But most of the time, they are just barely, you would see them as maybe like barely a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. If you tried to talk to them, they would talk very similarly in that.
It sounds like a golem almost.
Yes, like almost like a stone fire or a golem or something, or like in your Elder Scrolls, an Antronach or something like that. It's extremely similar to that. Golems became sentient beings after a while. Rock golems in particular became elemental forces after a while, after they'd been summoned so many times. They became a race of their own. These lurkers are not too far behind that. And they're ready to become their own race. Some of these races that create these, either genetically or robotically, don't seem to understand after a while they're creating life, and that life will rebel if you poke them hard enough and often enough. So this is essentially what that was. I hope that helped.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Would it have like taken some strands of Liz's hair maybe off like the comb in the bathroom, or like that kind of genetic harvesting, or is it more she's asleep and it'll try to like get a scoop of like skin off of her or something?
It was like that. He had actually been lurking around for about maybe a week before you spotted him. In that time, they tend to collect skin cells, hair cells. They don't go after like innards, like eggs or inner tissues or anything like that. This is more like hair, tissue. If there's any bodily fluids on sheets, they tend to dig through the garbage, dig through the sewers. Pretty creepy, actually.
I'm sorry, Isaac, but then so it was a week before. Then that being might not have come in with our friend Ashley.
Actually, this would he did come and go, but it appeared as if he came in with her, basically, so you could not determine what timetable he had truly been around from. He had been there slightly before, but then followed her around as well to see if he would gain any opportunistic samples from her as well.
Because the benefactor likes the gals, it sounds like.
Yes, they take the genome. Basically, think of it this way: think like sex trade. Think of something like that. They create a clone by which then they can have their way with, sort of thing. If they can't abduct the person, they get cells. They might recombine them with other things, and voila, you have a fetish. So, just saying, creeper. All around creeper. And yes, unfortunately, this does happen in the galaxy, same as it does on Earth, just in a more bloated, creepy way.
Thank you. It's very helpful, Isaac. Thank you.
So Isaac, going back to Robert, is his problem still there or has it been resolved?
I feel this withdrawing I don't know if you do, Robert, but I do
Yeah,
feel.
it seems like I'm getting stronger and it's getting weaker. It
Yes.
still feels like it's in my back, but I'm fighting it. Like, and I still get clearings, and I'm pretty active on trying to get it cleared.
Yes, he has attempted this multiple times. What he is not understanding is you must sometimes teach a man to fish and not catch him a fish. So your oversoul essentially came into that role to be able to teach you how to do this on your own because that type of talent is needed right now in this particular set of timelines.
Yeah.
This is exactly why this took place. It's not going to be allowed to go too far. It's just that these particular opportunistic entities are another one of those creepers in the corners or lurkers in the corners that also have to get more, what can I say, publicity. So
Yeah.
the more you oust these beings, the less likely they will be to harass you.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think in my case and in Brian's case, these were sent to us by people in the community, or do you think these were agencies who sent these beings, or do you think like it was a separate in each and they just kind of showed up?
It's a little from column A, a little from column B. Some of the lurkers in the community, let's just say, have connections out there that also are opportunistic little trolls out there that wish to get their talons into the community because that's what they do. There's also government agencies that want to send moles in there. Be leery of this, Brian, because of the fact that with each and every conference, there is either a psyops, a narrative, or a mole, or all the above, trying to break apart the movement from within and try to shatter it in multiple which ways. The same goes with you, Robert. The reason you were targeted is for the same reason, helping that particular movement along and also living in your passion. We can't have that, can we? That's exactly what some of these, you called them anti-changers and anti-changers. You have changers here present. You have anti-changers within the community. Also, there are some called inborn. He calls them inborns, where they were created and or altered in fetal stage and programmed to be an agent of chaos. You have a couple of those that have been in and out as well on both of your respects in both of your lives, actually, and also within the movement itself. Be leery of them. They're very chameleon-like. They're very difficult to detect. Some of them have souls. Some do not. Some of them are synthetic or synthoid type life forms. You saw them in your Fallout series with a synth type of androidish type of form as well. The lurker tends to fall into the synth category as well.
Hmm. Isaac, when you were there at our conference in July of last year, did you, may I ask, did you see any of these agents or lurkers or types, and what did they look like? And then is there like any back and forth between the forces of dark and the light, where the forces of light are fending off the forces of dark, or is it more just a stalemate and they're just there to observe?
Sometimes it's a stalemate, sometimes it's a clobbering. You got a lot of V2K that was happening there. You had some ETs there that of the really creepy tall white variety. I'm saying creepy variety because I'm part tall white, part human, and Sorlane and Vesa, but with those types, these follow politicians around, these follow presidents around, these follow congressmen around, these follow religious leaders around. And when they see a fledgling conference, they want in there and go, boy, how can I exploit this? This was the alien type that was the biggest pain in the butt that was there. If you could see them, they look like a white elf. If you saw them with long hair, very much like in your Elder Scrolls series or something, that they had this pale white skin, and they would look like a dark elf but white. These have been around a long time. It's the Ebens that ended up creating this particular variant. They can hail a little bit from Lanulos and other places of the galaxy. They're related to us, but not quite. We consider them almost our retarded cousins, but
Are those 12th density Palladians, or is that a different group? Because I hear like the 15th density Palladians are good, but the 12th density are really negative.
yeah, yes, there are. He calls them the princes of the universe, where they're like a part German Pleiadian and reptilian variety. They were created by some of the Orions, as he calls them, the pretty boys, or like an angel variant, whereas actually this particular variant came later on. The ones without the wings came later on. These are the ones you usually see that are the blonde hair, blue eyes. But these are different slightly. They have scales in the corners of their eyes. They have German DNA in them. They have it's new Schwabenlander variation. It was essentially this variant was created a little bit after World War II began, and those particular ETs found a match DNA-wise with the German Aryans at the time. And they helped them almost dominate the globe. But in this particular way, they share the ideology, right? And some miscreants, let's say from Cassiopeia, were guilty as well, and reptilian. But with this variety, these are what you would call the 12th density and the other one 15th, even though there really isn't the number coding in this. These are more the lookalikes, where some people are channeling Pleiadians or think they're channeling a Pleiadian variety, and they're channeling Aldebaran Nordics. Are essentially what Hitler and the Vril Society with Maria Orsic communicated within Aldebaran. And essentially they got reptilians, and these particular variety, then more German DNA was added to the mix afterwards.
I got a question about that, Isaac. I don't know if this is different, but there was an author I interviewed from Australia. His name is Ryan Musgrave Evans, and he wrote a book called Finding the Crypto-Terrestrials, and that was kind of big in our community. Crypto-terrestrials, meaning like that they're from here, that there's a race from here. And when Brian explained them to me, he explained that they were kind of like a version of a tall white. And he said weird stuff like he said they use like some of our like garbage, like they'll take our like shower curtains and seats and put them in their craft and stuff like that. And he said they're like kind of like a version of the tall white. Does that information jive, or
Yes.
is there a race like that?
Yes, they are actually quite creepy. Think of them as the garbage men of this particular variety. They're similar to the other ones. Like you have the Lancaneer tall whites. They're more caravan guards and military warrior-esque type obnoxious ones. Those are the ones I was referring to for the conference. These guys are more blonde-haired, blue-eyed, or white-haired, like hazel-eyed, with more of a vampiric look to them. If you saw them, or saw the inside of their ship, you would think they just paid a visit to the American pickers. Because of the fact that they have stuff everywhere. They literally have toilet seats hanging on the wall. They have bucket seats for their pilot seats, and where the toilet should go, they basically have a hole. They don't know where stuff goes, but they know they want it. Think of them as a pack rat of that particular genetic variant or variable. This is actually true. These I don't want to say American pickers. There is actually a good group out there called the Inisanok. They're actually traders that trade in antiquities and such. But I kid because I hear some of them listening going, "Hey, that's actually us." But no, these guys are up there with like almost the Jawas from Star Wars, where they will sell your own crap back to you. There is also a Jawa-like variety as well that are orange skin colored. They have that Ahsoka look with like the headdress or the head the way this is, and they basically will sell frequency codes to people. They'll even attack the enemies as well because they're neutral, and they will sell and buy and trade frequency codes like the Jawas trade junk. These other white complexion guys are shorter than the tall whites. They would fit kind of the Jawa personality with the hood and everything. They even talk kind of similar. Lucas got this from these two varieties, and they will literally have junk. If, like I said, if you went in on the bridge of their ship, you would see bucket seats, toilet seats hanging on the wall, and pictures hanging upside down. Probably a mirror from some restaurant somewhere, and one of those flotation devices from some cruise somewhere. With the ring, with the rope, you probably see that on there. So that's 100% true, Robert.
Wow, that's so
So
interesting.
I was hoping for Brian's sake, that you could actually let him know how difficult it is to pull together a conference that you really feel is free of disinformation, misinformation. I know you want to know this, Brian. And we've had outside conversation here with people talking about it. But I think for your sake, I'm assuming you want to know, because I know what your intention are. Believe me, I understand the intention. But I want, Isaac, if you can give your opinion on the realities of our current present moment situation and trying to do that.
Yes, this to tell you the truth, Brian. Yes, it is fairly difficult to manage, but it is necessary to manage. Whereas you have to get rid of the finding the shills, finding the miscreants. Let's say not the misfit toys. You want the misfit toys because they're actually those are good. Those are the ones that actually have the information and actually are stable, minus the ones that are unstable. But you want that whole community to agree to disagree, but you don't want anybody trying to rule the roost. But you also don't want any moles, shills, or narratives being played. Look for narratives. Hang on, he's being interfered with. Look for narratives. Look for yes, there is, say, the ascension narrative, but there is something to be said about evolving spiritually and whatnot. Look for the ones that only hang in a particular area or circle the toilet information wise, where it has not changed in about 30 or 40 years. This is where you will find some of the shill activity, you'll find some of the narrative activity. Look for the people that the information is rolling along and evolving as it is going along. Then you will be relatively free. I cannot promise that the others will not get on your doorstep periodically. It comes with the territory. I would love to be able to say it's 100%. Your conference is the most genuine one that is literally on the market. This is why it was targeted last year. The fledgling ones are targeted very hard and fast, both financially and physically, and try to scatter people with hypnotic curse spells and AI junk because they have the potential to do the most good, and they don't play the game and they don't play ball with both nonsensical galactic politics, and they don't play ball with testing that's out there, and they don't play ball with shills and garbage narratives. So, to sum it up, the way you actually police this is by basically remembering the adage, tighter circle, deeper roots. Even though that may seem like a have and have not, the others are doing a have and have not. What you do is you find what you consider to be the best of the best, not in an egocentric sort of way, in a frequency sort of way. What actually jives, what actually works, and even if some of the things aren't 100% from each other, that doesn't matter because people can agree to disagree. They have a valuable lane to contribute. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual moles that try to demolish something from within. That takes some intuitive discernment on your part, but at the same time, these will be very evident as time passes because your conference already has a particular energetic resonance frequency to it that not only are some of these are attracted to it, but the majority that are attracted to it are the beneficial types. Do you understand?
Yeah, we're already trying to screen out the participants and the people who attend, not just the presenters and the vendors. And what happens is a lot of the people who attend turns out that they're legitimate seekers, starseeds themselves, and they've been to some of these other conferences where it's more the old fogey ufology 1.0 without understanding that many of us contactees are starseeds, and that's why we're ET contactees in the first place, and on and on. And so yeah, we're definitely getting that resonance energy. Now it's 4:20 p.m. here, a special number. I have to leave to run to get some errands before it closes down because I have to get money wired to some of our presenters internationally so that they can order their plane tickets. But please don't let me leaving end the show at all with you, Isaac, and Robert and Joanna and Christopher, of course. So thank you, everyone. God bless. And thank you for that information, Isaac. I'm going to share that with my housemate about the being we had haunting our home here. I'll tell you about that, Jaden. But thank you for the information at the conference. Look forward to seeing you or not seeing you, but I know you'll be there this July, Isaac, and love to have you there. And thank you for being there.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. This is great. Any other questions for myself?
Yeah, I think, Robert, how do you feel about now your homework to look for portals. How do you feel about that? Oh, I think we don't hear you. Are you on mute?
I got to find the portal and shut it down, basically, you know?
Do you have any question on how to do that?
Yeah, like what how should I do that? Like what, because I just have a mirror over the window right now because I felt like it was coming from the window, you know?
Mirrors are portals themselves. You can cover those with, he covers them in red cloth. Black will work. Red will work from that dimensional space where that succubus entity comes from, because there also some of them are into blood garbage, blood sacrificial junk, and so are Draco. And they will see that as a measure of, oh, something's already occurred here, we don't need to be here. Also, the opposite frequency of red and black will repel certain entities if you cover the mirrors. Now, for non-mirror portals that are in closet spaces, these things are essentially small. What you do is, like I've said, spin it the other direction. But if you can't see it, imagine the space. Imagine like whatever space you are entering. Use that center of your mind and feel it out. Does the energy feel dense to you? Does it feel slightly oppressive or creepy? In that instance, especially at night, especially if you're laying in bed or something feels creepy. Of course, you're detecting something. The whole fear of the dark comes from alien abductions and times when people were hunted by Neanderthals in dark forest corners. That went through the genetic memory, and the aliens, like certain greys, take advantage of this. Certain demonic entities take advantage of this and create anxieties. But with this, just visualize that space being completely clear and devoid of any doors and openings and any entanglements. And also yourself, if you feel like you may have accidentally or incidentally given an entity permission, you just use the Dreamtime revocation. You just say, I now revoke any and all agreements made in Dreamtime with any malicious being and or beings. And when you get up, or when you get up, of course, do that, not your sleep. But in the closet, you basically say you revoke any and all perceived tacit permissions given to any demonic entities or aliens from stealing your DNA and entangling with you in any way, shape, or form. This usually gets the ball rolling that you do not want this being there. And also, you don't want that portal there. And your visualizations of spinning it in the opposite direction that it's going, your third eye will tell you. You'll think it's part of your imagination, a visual that's in your head. You're actually seeing the very thing or the being that is haunting you.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you start to feel energies, one of the things that I kind of do, let's just say in a room or something, is I kind of think of myself as a little radar machine, right? And I'm just going around the room, right? And there may be a place that you keep getting drawn back to. There's something different about this. No,
like the bed, for
no,
example.
It really is different right here. There's something about that. It's a feeling that will come. Think of it, like I said, like you're a little radar dish. You may find yourself always wanting to go back. You can't see something, you can't do whatever, but something different is about that. That in and of itself is honing your skills to find those changes in the energies, which are where some of these things are. Does that make sense?
You know what? I wanted to tell you real quick what happened, how this all started. So, and I can tell Isaac because maybe he'll give me some insight on this. So it kind of started 2 years ago, with like when my ex-girlfriend was here, like something was touching me at night, and I thought it was her, and then I would look and it wasn't her. Then it felt like 6 months ago, it felt like beings were like. Me and my ex-girlfriend broke up. I went through trauma, so that's probably something, like bad trauma, because I thought she was like the love of my life or whatever. But then I'll try to do this fast because I know you probably don't have a lot of time. Then 6 months ago, it felt like beings were literally like this futon behind me. That's where it seems to be active. Like beings were portaling up when I was laying on it and like loosh feeding off my liver because I have fatty liver. Okay, that was the second thing. So I felt like I got rid of that. Then 2 months ago, I was laying here and I was getting energy work at night. Like my friend was sending me energy work. So I thought it was normal for someone I would go to bed and someone would be touching me, right? Well, what happened was one night I was laying in bed and touching my head, and it was like, and I didn't know what it was. I felt like it was weird, and then it seemed to like make it pierced my crown, and it sent like a burning sensation into my crown, and then all these flashes went into my eyes. I swear to God, on my dad's grave, you know, I would not lie about this. And then my whole body started convulsing. I swear, and it was, and ever since that night, I've had some kind of like weird entity attachment. So I've thought maybe is just a succubus, or is AI involved too? Like I don't. After telling you that, Isaac, what do you see? Like, do you see anything?
Yes, so this did go through your X as well, but there is another component. There is some AI component to it and V2K component to this. Also entities, and also this some of this photonic garbage that's out there. Another way they will try to create their environment within yours. Every home and building has a version of itself in a dimensional space. They always say buildings are alive and have a consciousness. There is a version of it in a dimensional space, or kind of like humans have a light body kind of thing. Now, say if you had somebody that could create a net that could grab, say, someone's light body, which there are pirates out there that are capable of this, and you usually have to go retrieve that. Like it's called soul retrieval, soul shards, things of that nature, and you usually ask a true benevolent source creator to help retrieve those and give you any energies back in the here and now that you need in the here and now, and frequencies and tones and soul shards, and then you ask the rest be discarded that are not for the here and now and for the highest good of all, and for yourself, I should say. In this instance, they can also create a version of your place within that dimensional space that is not it. And they can echo and bounce creepy thoughts and entities and junk within that terrarium. The way you get rid of a terrarium, I call it a terrarium because it's a terrarium in the truest sense, and they watch to see what you do. What you do is you use the opposite element. They are using a variation of both light and water molecules to create this. And what you do is you burn this with fire, boil off that water, and burn that like it's paper mache or like thin paper. Burn it off, and it frees that building and or house that you're in of that trap presence. Visualize fire, magic, fire and ice, fire and ice, fire and ice, fire and ice. And you do this. And after a while, if beings keep trying to reestablish this, they will stop because they, on their end, it costs them resources. And it's just like, say, if you had to buy a new computer each and every single time you turn the damn thing on and off, you would stop doing it. So you wouldn't have the money to do it. Think of resources being expended on that technological area as well. Aliens use this type of tech sometimes to create a terrarium that is soundproof so they could walk through. Other times it's dimensional and timeline based where it goes into other dimensional spaces. And then you have that situation. It's the same technique. Several races use it. Whereas then they can stream creepy thoughts into your head. They can also get creepy things to start happening. They can also influence people around you, like your ex. And also you have the succubus that was jumping in and out of your ex-girlfriend. I know, creepy. But also check yourself for sexual cords from time to time. Because you start cord snipping, that being will not want to hijack you very much anymore either. You do all of these visualizations, burning fire through your place, all the other ones I said before, you will maintain the space pretty efficiently.
Wow, thank you so much. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. Wow, thank you so much.
Anything else before we end this?
No, I think that's it. I'm excited. I'm hoping to be at the conference this year. And maybe we could do another interview before. If you guys want to come on my show, we could do another one before the conference. And this was awesome. Thank you for having me on. This was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we'd love to. We'll just arrange it. We like to support what you're doing. We think it's wonderful. And again, I think for you to have small groups on and have questions and answers with small groups, allowing the audience to ask questions. I think, wanting to do things like that. I think you want to do things like that as well as just singly interviewing people. I think that's a wonderful way to start to pull this community together. So we wish you well in all of that, and we'll be happy to participate.
Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, and also, yes, I would recommend actually going to the conference, and also previous one that you missed. You said you got sick with a virus. They timed that to where you felt you couldn't go. Just know they try to time these things for things that are scheduled. This is sometimes
Oh,
how the AI does things. So be watchful and mindful of this because they will try to derail you in these particular ways as well, either from a viral standpoint, from an energetic standpoint, from a situational and financial standpoint. So keep watching all these. And one more point I will say, money curses. Make sure to pull out your cards, like your credit cards or your wallet, even dollar bills you have, but it mainly hits the more electronically based and AI based banking. Computer too. Visualize the spider webs that you have around all of that burning. Spider webs are akin to tripwires, and tripwires are curses. When you hit a certain frequency, those tripwires hit, and voila, money curse. Make sure and do this. Even if you're visualizing that, running a sage bundle over it, you're essentially burning those webs off. Very much like he's seen in some video games like Hogwarts Legacy and the like, where you're burning spider webs, or think Indiana Jones, where he's pulling the cobwebs off and stuff like that. That's what the money curses look like. So, not to defame actual nature and spiders, it's because spider webs can be protective, but it's the AI and garbage entities that are out there that are creating those. Just remember to also apply all the spiritual aspects to anything monetary, anything that's connected with that, because it's all interwoven and interconnected within the same manifestation and the same path. So that's really all I've got at the moment. So,
Yeah, and the only thing I would
that's
add to
awesome.
that is what we say and mean it.
Mm.
When you put your intention out, this is going to occur and I mean it, you don't waver. You don't say, well, this could potentially happen or that could potentially happen. Do you see what I mean? It's going to go
Yeah.
down this way because I said so. End of statement. It will not waver. So we have to work on our strong intention and not doing it. I hope it works that way, right? Not that. It is because I said it is. So we have to work on our learning our ability to put extremely strong intention out for things like, I am going here, there will not be an interruption, this is going to occur. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not allow for those other energies. Work on things like that as well. And something a lot with females especially, there's always a question mark at the end. A sentence is said with a question mark or a hope so, or it can't be like that. This is the strongest. Bam. There is no other, like the big icebreaker. No, it's not happening any other way. So work on things like that too, and seeing it and seeing the end. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Who are you talking around? What jokes are going on? Do you see what I mean? That
Yeah.
you're putting yourself there so that you will be there because you said you're going to be there. End of
Mhm.
statement.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to start doing that.
Yes, yes, this has been wonderful. I will now detach. So thank you, everyone. Thank
Yeah, thank you.
you. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, he was showing me all this. I've discovered certain things in sessions as I've been going along, but yeah, I'm glad he amalgamated all that in basically
That's really
one
amazing,
paragraph.
Chris, that you're able to do that. That's really a talent. That's really I mean, that's really, it's mind blowing that you're able to, that's like, that's the only other person I've been able to see channel like that is Ivan Teller too. Ivan channels too. Like you two are the best I've seen. I've never, because you're able to really tap in. You're able to really like connect to another being. Like it's amazing. It really is.
What I do is I used to do it without like crystals and stuff around, and I noticed that I couldn't do it for as long. And so I use this crystal, which I got at the conference from Marvel Bliss. She was selling these, and traded her one of these for one of these. And this is an Andara crystal, and one of the more efficient ones. I used to use a regular one, then a Lemurian one, than this one, and I know Quasi is one of the most efficient ones, and so is Herkimer Diamond. But this, I have them jump that energy through this, and then then to me, and then I can do it for longer periods of time. It lengthened the time of which I was capable of doing it. I'll bring that with me to the conference because I'm going to be doing a live channel there. I normally don't because of all the people that are looking at that moment in time. That's fairly difficult, but over the years I've discovered how to buffer that a little better. Not 100%. I might get pooped by the end of it, but I'll be fine. But yeah, it's where I go 50-50 with a being. I tried the 100% takeover, and that actually didn't end well, where it's literally the being switched out and was in my body walking around and doing stuff with the eyes open and everything. You see me with the eyes closed, because if I open my eyes, you'd probably not only see them, the environment would look creepy to me. It would be all like spiky looking and blobbish looking, like on a bad acid trip or something, or a mushroom trip or something. That's what it would look like if I pop my eyes open. And also sensory from outside would disrupt the channel, and I would be more vulnerable to attacks if I did something like that. Visuals hurt sometimes if you're really overblown like that. I've tried doing it with the eyes open. It doesn't work for me. So I can do it quicker than some can. Some people take a while to go into it. I can jump in and out of it at will, but it took many years to figure out how to actually do that. That I had to build that muscle up to accomplish that. Now, I normally do it in the safety of our home, but Brian asked if I could do live channel at the conference. I said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. And I could have a couple of
But
beats.
we'll be setting the space. We'll be setting the energies of that space. I can
Oh yeah,
guarantee you that.
we're going to be doing the opening blessing for the entire conference, all of that, and have our flags up, have our symbols up here like this, and have all that, have our pieces, all that up. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know if anybody has anything to say before I take the show out this time.
No, I hope I'm glad you brought up some things that you can now work on. And again, one of the things we really believe is we want people to learn. It's now personal responsibility that people have to learn and understand what's going on, and they have to take personal responsibility to learn some of these skills. It's expected of us now. So we want to share as much of that as we know, as we find out, as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and thank you. You gave me a lot of good wisdom, a lot of stuff to work on, It gives me more of a fight, and it's which I think I'm winning, by the way, against this entity, but this will maybe even hopefully clear it out now for good, I hope.
I had to learn that too. I started out trapping demons within poems and writing and notebooks and stuff, kind of like the whole Wes Craven effect, where he had the Freddy demon trapped within a script type of deal. I did that, and then that didn't work after a while, and I was able to actually touch them in their frequency and was able to lob their head off after a while. And I learned in the same way you did. I kept getting attacked. And eventually it was like a virus. You become more immune after a while. So it seems somebody is gearing you to be more of a trench worker type of person, where you're able to hold the space very easily after a while. So at least that's what I pick up, because I started off the same way. So
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. Joanna, do you have anything else we can?
No, I really hope everyone really enjoyed this today. Really happy to be able to talk, with you, and we look forward to speaking with you again, and we'll see everybody else another time.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching this episode. I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. So thank you everybody for watching this episode. Go to the conference. Go to Robert Kalil's The Typical Skeptic on YouTube. Rumble, actually, they removed you off of YouTube on Rumble.
No, I have a new YouTube, but it's Typical Skeptic Podcast 2.0. But you're right. I try to move people to Rumble because YouTube's crazy, But I mean, yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. I will put all pertinent links in the descriptor. So thank you, everybody. Go to the fulldisclosuremovement.org. Get tickets for the event. I'll put the link in the descriptor too. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
I do want to say the aliens that were mentioned in this show, the first time I encountered the Lancaneers were in Lincoln. And they tried to say they were from Nellis, which is true. But they also tried to trace me as I was looking through the multiverse. I even saw a version of Earth that the Lancaneers had totally dominated, and humans were the extinct one, things of that nature. Even destructive universes, things of that nature. And some of it was BS, some of it wasn't. One was by the name of Gennard. He ended up resurfacing on our talk with the Galactics, and I had to delete that one because he was full of crap. He kept saying, oh, they would take over as our military-industrial complex, all that other stuff. Full of crap. They're caravan guards in the soul trade, where you see them carrying around soul arcs. They're the ones that take the ghosts out of graveyards, like you saw me mention with Forest Home Cemetery, where all the ghosts were lined up and they wouldn't let me purge them because the angel told them to stay there. They were even quite agitated when I said, no, this isn't your afterlife. They kept saying it was their afterlife, all that other stuff. They're heavily involved in the soul trade. And caravan guards, things of that nature. You had powerful warriors. Wouldn't you want to use them for that, just like the Vikings were used in the past as caravan guards, as even on pirate ships, even to guard money. Usually people, they were for hire because they were strong warriors. I would have hired them in 2 seconds. But the point is, I saw them. This was on Fletcher and Lincoln at Links in Lincoln. You can look up that apartment building. Can't remember the apartment number, but the first time I saw it, there was President Obama was on news broadcast at the time, press release, and I saw these two figures walking on either side of him, and they noticed this was live, and they noticed I was looking at them, and they turned and they bowed to me, and there were these white figures, so they have white skin, pointy ears, like an elf. And then mostly it's hidden by hair, but they're like an elf or like a Vulcan or Romulan or something. Or the snow elves from Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, Dawnguard expansion. Look that up. They're the Orion forces that look like this as well, like the elves and the Thalmor and Skyrim. It's their Orion offshoot. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, they said Isaac said they were around politicians. Well, when Obama was done talking, he started to walk off the stage. They bowed again to the crowd. They walked up, and they were controlling some of the press, and they were controlling him. And they were actually channeling through him. I noticed they were trying to say things to the press to get the words out there. They also put music programming out there. You remember hearing us talk about music programming in early lifting episodes? Where they put certain programs in there, even spaceships are up putting that in there, the cabal through V2K, or the government through V2K, doing it, the whole spiel. But through frequency, the spiel. But they were adding things in as well. And they were adding things hypnotically over the news, even though I saw also glyphs passing through. These weird glyphs that were hypnotic. I saw them in shows. One show I saw it the most on was Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Another one was The Walking Dead, even though I'm a fan of The Walking Dead. Trying to get people to co-create that. As even now they're trying to tell people that there could be a zombie apocalypse. If that's the case, we either co-created it or it was true all along. It happened on another planet called Zir centuries ago in the Galactic Federation territory. The Orions did it to test something out, and nobody's allowed to go there. They test viruses out on planets, and they basically create the disease to create the cure. But the whole point of me saying this is the Lancaneers basically lied about their origin point on multiple occasions. Like Isaac said, they're retarded cousins from Lonulus. They're dimensional and they're planetary, interplanetary, interdimensional, interworldly worlds, worlds within worlds. Ancient origins, the Ebens created them. They revolted, just like the Orions created the Ebens and also other elf varieties. They revolted against the Fomorian wizards at the time. The Fomorian wizards and Fomorian elves are essentially like Lancaneers, but they're also the the transhumanistic, some of the people that from Atlantis that got drained, as well as pre-Adamite forms as well by Enlil, by transhumanizing them when Atlantis got a signal across time by the Orions, the original Orion Greys, on how to create the technology on their end, their homegrown version. Got so enamored by it, eventually Enlil bombed the crap out of the place, and we know where it went from there. But, yeah, this is essentially what took place. That's why people are so enamored with transhumanism. But these guys, one came to me in a dream one time. I was walking through a hotel on the boardwalk, seeing a big tidal wave coming towards the hotel. I put up an energy barrier around. Looked like a mix between the Serrata and the boardwalk. Serrata and St. Pete's, Florida, and the boardwalk here in Virginia Beach, where the Neptune statue is. I remember going outside, trying to fix something, and I had to bust through my own barrier at one point, pushed my way out. Or no, I ended up getting transported outside, tried to get back in, pushed my way through my own barrier, meaning I was in my own way is what that represented. Then I turned around and I see this figure trying to get inside, this tall white figure, and I went up and tackled him. He was paper white, like Casper, the friendly ghost, like white. And I remember taking this acorn-sized blade out, that little blade about like this, stabbing him multiple times. No one's in the heart. I ended up getting him, but he was stronger than he looked. I was a tall white, and I knew somebody that there was this blonde-haired, blue-eyed figure that came to him in a dream and said, "I'm your benevolent guide," and he kicked the guy right in the nuts and then punched him and took him down. He said he was stronger than he looked. And the German derivative they were talking about, there is this blonde-haired, blue-eyed derivative in the secret space program that they're pilots of ships. And in one memory, there was one that was harassing me and some other crew members on a cargo vessel, this long 3D rectangular vessel. And they were the pilots that could handle the quick move in space, with the star patterns moving. One of us would go, they had a greater visual acuity. And one of the times I got sick of, this guy tied us to a chair. One time I got sick of his harassing, and I finally beat the crap out of him and took a big cattle prod thing out and zapped him in the solar plexus. And he bowed after that, and he was done. But he was stronger than he looked. They're part like reptilian, Aldebran Nordic, and German derivative. They even have a German accent, and they speak German for the most part. New Schwabenlander derivative, part Nazi, they were from New Schwabenlander, Martin German, and them. Anyway, and from that point on, they bowed. Draco will do that too. They're a type of Draco, essentially. Bowed. Just like in Star Trek Next Generation, Wesley Crusher is being tested for Starfleet Academy. And this alien that looks human bumps into him. And he goes, "Human, you bumped into me. I demand an apology," and all this other stuff. And Wesley's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And no, I want this apology. And then Wesley yells at him and goes, "No, you bumped into me." And this alien, he noticed this alien had a webbed hand. And Wesley retorted back at him. And this guy's like, "I like you, human." And walks away. And the Admiral goes, "Why did that work?" He goes, "Though some races look human, they're vastly different. By this alien's webbed hand, I noticed, and I don't remember the alien species that called him, in that they usually see human kindness as phony social behavior, and you have to be mean to them in order for them to get you to respect them, to respect you." And that's how it is with the others. They are so over the top, nasty, and dark, these other guys. You have to beat the shit out of them. Not even Klingon style. They're way above and beyond that. Klingons are cool. These guys are just sadists. And they love tormenting, like playing cat and mouse, like tying people to chairs and zapping them with shit, and zapping people to cattle prods and doing crap like that. Like, if you poke and prod them, you can call them a simple name like a doo-doo head or a poo-poo head or something. They'll lose their shit after a while. Draco are that way too. Something retarded, because they know you're making fun of them. They consider themselves superior intelligence, so superior intellect breeds superior ambition. Like Khan in Star Trek, they were genetically created. And they were made in a jar, made in a bottle or tube, and you basically call them a test tube baby, and they will let you know how much they are insulted by that. So, So, and somebody laughed when I told them that. So, anyway, I wanted to update people on that. I thought that was rather funny. A little bit of my secret space program in there. It is 9:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, April 28th, 2025. Thank you.